I'm really happy with what's happening right now with the organization that we have, being the current president. I think we're attracting more people this year than we have for a long time. Usually we see 5, 6, 7 guests at our meeting that have found us either online or through the website or Facebook or by word of mouth. You know, we hope we can maintain those people and bring them on board.
Well, I think that the club is probably the best way to learn how to fly fish and not spend a lot of money and not bankrupt yourself, but to really enjoy the sport, find out what fly fishing really is about.
It is a group of the nicest, most generous people that I have ever had the honor of associating with. They're good teachers and good buddies. And we're an easygoing, easy to get along with bunch. There's not a highfalutin person among us.
NKFF is not a stereotypical fly fishing club. It's not a typical anything kind of club. The members are so diverse in their walks of life and the way they comport themselves. They're the nicest group of people I've ever had the pleasure of being associated with.
NKFF's been a great organization. I've enjoyed it for many, many years. I hope to be a member for many more years to come.
You know, I definitely remember just like it was with Ron Kilmer. We had so much fun together. We've become friends ever since then. But we just had a blast on that trip. I mean, everything we did was fun. We drank whiskey the whole time. We caught a ton of fish. We even screwed people over on their fishing holes. We didn't care. We were ruthless. And I still remember catching one of these salmon, the biggest fish I'd ever caught, and it pulled my old like $30 8-weight rod all the way down into the butt, where it felt like I was just holding a string. And it was just the most insane experience I had ever had. And I got hooked after that and did the steelheading and all that kind of stuff afterwards. And
steelhead for me. Steelhead for me too. Tom Gear hook a steelhead. Once you hook a steelhead, you're hooked.
Oh man.
Any trip.
I really enjoy the steelhead fishing. When we go up to South Bend with the guides up there, getting some beautiful fish. I mean, they really fight. I've been hooked by, steelhead.
My first time steelhead fishing, ice coming down the water, standing in 20-degree water catching steelhead on little dinky egg hair flies that we tied up to simulate salmon eggs. But we also found out if you put a little bit of salmon oil on those eggs, the fish seem to want to go after them a lot more.
My Uncle Red, when I was 12 years old, he got me started fly fishing and hanging out with NKFF and doing different things. It was a lot of fun, and I've been addicted ever since.
Did a lot of my learning of how to fly fish through the club. Again, we teach fly casting, fly tying, rod building, net building, you name it.
kind of the first thing I ever got involved with in the club was the education. And I would just go to just every single little class that Mike did and listen to him talk and learn. And it was like, once you get through like 8 or 9 of those and you keep doing the casting, all of a sudden it's like you really know how to cast a fly rod.
Probably about 6 years ago was the fly tying sessions, and that got me hooked. And so since then, I've pretty much tie all my own flies. Something about, catching a fish on a fly you tied, and now I just did some rod building with a rod that I built. Just something special about that.
Jerry taught me how to roll cast in the last class that you guys had.
So you can roll cast now?
You can roll cast.
So, you know, I've learned a lot from a lot of different people, not just one particular person, which is what the club is about, you know, is education and teaching everybody something. Well, just today, Josh was helping me with my cast, and I feel like I learned more just in that 5 minutes from him today, just than anybody that I've helped with casting.
I learned how to fly tie from the fly tying, and I tie all my own flies now.
Fly fishing can be a lifelong learning experience if you let it and can see past your own supposed expertise. You can learn something from every student that you teach. That's been a constant over the many fly fishing classes and impromptu streamside sessions that I've been involved with. Pretty neat, really.
The whole sport for me is about getting youth involved in outdoor activities in general, not just fly fishing, but I really like to organize the youth fest that I do every year. It's the 3rd year I've done it this year for the 5th District Federation out at Lloyd's Wildlife Management area. And it's a good time. There's a lot of smiling faces on kids, and they're getting involved in a lot of different sports, from fishing to shooting, rifles, 22s, and shotguns, and it's a good time. And for me, it's really cool to see all the different people that like to volunteer to help out with those events. I think it's really special for somebody to spend that time trying to teach somebody the same passions that they have.
You know, one of the things that you know, I've benefited from is Youth Outdoor Day every year, and I've been able to bring my granddaughter down to visit that weekend, and she looks forward to that every year. You know, at that Youth Day, we do the archery, the shooting, the art, you know, the fishing. So it's just a fun day. And
I particularly like the kids' derbies because it's just so great to see the kids catch their first fish. And I figure if they catch one fish, then they're hooked for life.
Part of NKF to me is about community. We really do a lot of things within our community, go out and help a lot of kids catch their first fish, whether it be at a kids fishing derby or maybe a fly tying class.
It's a great trip.
I always like to be out with doing our derbies and stuff. Seeing some of the young kids when they first catch their fish, first time they get the fish in their hands.
Yeah, that's
try to tell them, now you got to kiss it and put it back. They kind of hesitate about that.
I work with the Women's Outreach. As a matter of fact, I was one of the ladies that did the original outreach to the women in the club. We put on classes specifically for women. We did a section on fly tying. We did sections on casting. We gave them extreme etiquette. We tried to make sure every lady caught a fish.
I'm Brent Miller. I am the program leader for Project Healing Waters fly fishing here in Cincinnati. It's a program that's one of more than 200 across the nation. It's a national program. We teach veterans fly fishing, fly casting, fly tying, rod building, and we're taking fish hooking.
It's always great to see them catch their first fish too, knowing that what you've taught them has helped them do that. So it's a great feeling.
So we went down for Real Recovery down to Otter Creek for the cancer awareness for men's cancer. And it's what they call a mystery fly. So everybody has the same fly. Everybody fishes the same fly. So everybody's chances are pretty much the same. The first time I went down, I think the one that actually won only caught 2 fish all day. And the last time I went, I think the one that won caught like 80. So.
Gary Turney, Keith Holmes, Bob Weichman, Bob Tubasing, Al Schwartz, Hal Birch, Joe Melching, Joe Jackman, Ron Kilmer, got to throw him in there, Tim Guilfoyle, Josh Lillard, Charlie and Sheila Meyer. The list is endless.
It's not just one person or another, it's just the whole group. They're very influential. You know, each one has imparted a little bit more to my knowledge and to my friendship. I think the importance there is, yeah, you can see them at the meetings, but until you go out and fish with them on the stream or stay with them for a weekend in the same cabin or lodging or whatever, you really don't get to know them. And there's some really special people in the group right now.
One of the best friends I ever made was Hal Birch, and Hal died a couple of years ago, but he's the guy who taught me more about fly fishing than I think anybody else, because everything he did was based upon science. He was an engineer by training, and he would bring in equipment and he would test lines and so on and so forth, so he debunked all myths. So he was an extraordinarily good friend. Craig Tresher remains a best friend, and he has been such an inspiration to me because of all of the things that he has done for the club over the years, and the talent that he brings to the club in the way of videography and just ideas, just brimming with ideas.
Oh, tons. I mean, Mike Arnold, I wouldn't have met him if it weren't for this. Ron Kilmer, Paul Marybeth Stegman, Joe Jackman, Dave DeVita. I mean, tons. Tons of people. Hell, you, Rob.
Oh, Red Barrington and I were fishing partners for years and years and years before he passed away. He worked for IBM, I worked for Western and Southern, so we know each other from work. We kept trying to put together a trip to Cave Run, but when he was available, I wasn't. When I was available, he wasn't. Finally, we both canceled an individual trip of our own just to put together a trip to Cave Run so we could be together. That was shortly before Red was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm glad we had a chance to get to do that. NKFF has a long history of conservation-minded activities. From our Adopt a Highway days along the roads bordering Locust Creek in Bracken County, where we have stood and watched while a wild turkey stopped an 18-wheeler dead in its tracks by flying right through the front windshield. Luckily it was the passenger side and didn't get the driver. That was really something. The other thing was I used to have to get in my belly boat to go to the center of the lower end of Gunpowder Creek to collect water samples. The favorite moment came from when Licking River Watershed Watch announced that the state of Kentucky had more information on Gunpowder Creek than on any other river or stream in the state of Kentucky. And that was mainly because NKFF made up a large percentage of the water data quality collectors for 7 years or so.
Actually, that creek at the time was completely dead. And today, because of the water testing and the advocacy that Northern Kentucky fly fishers did in conjunction with others, we stopped that dumping of the icy fluid, and that stream now has become a pretty decent smallmouth bass fishery.
Yeah, we went to the extension center, we took classes, we got the equipment we needed, and we paired up in teams of 2. And we were assigned a certain area to go sample. I learned a lot about conservation that way, and I think we did a pretty good job of determining the health of Gunpowder Creek at that point.
We've done a lot of stream cleanup. We've put habitat in for fish, Christmas trees and stuff tied down to give them some structure. A lot of stuff like that. In fact, Ron and I were doing cleanup out there by Locust Creek. We used to maintain that stretch of road, and we go out twice a year and we pick up all the trash and lumber. Stuff like that, tires, we find who knows what. But,
dead bodies.
Yeah, one time we picked up a bottle, emptied the bottle, and there was a woman who had been missing for about a year now. And at that point we were pretty sure that we had found her. But it turned out to be who knows what. But, yeah.
We caught somewhere in the neighborhood of 21 different species, and I had never been on a kayak in the ocean before. And we were 3 miles offshore, and I never thought I would do that. Of course, we did it with a guide. So I would say my most recent exciting experience was in the ocean, but quite honestly, every single trip I go on is the most exciting trip that I've ever had before.
Shirley falls in the water. And,
you were there? No, no. He's talking about a different one. I'm accident
He's climbing out of the creek, falls in the water, and he gets up and he's holding his head. I said, "What's wrong?"
My finger was like that.
His finger is bent like that.
Yeah, I mean it was.
And I'm thinking, well.
And I said, I think I broke my finger, Dave.
I said,
and
well,
he's thinking,
I got to take him to the hospital. Trip shot. He goes, hold on. I think we're good.
And it's good. Look at that. Look at that. Didn't go to a doctor or nothing. It's good today. I mean, no big deal.
Amazing. But the other trip, Bernie Blau, one of the old members, organized a trip, and 13 of us went out to Yellowstone. And he set up a horse trip. We went out horseback to the Third Meadow at Sloop Creek, which is a famous place. Really came back, caught a lot of fish, came back dusty, sore, our butts were sore from being on a horse for about 6 hours. And later, Bernie managed to get us kicked out of the cowboy bar in Montana.
I don't know why, but Bernie has a tendency, at that time, he loved this Kentucky beverage called Baker's Mark. And we would drink a bit too much of it. That would cause our behaviors to get a little out of control. And he did not get us kicked out of Applebee's, but we were asked to be quiet.
Again, on a Florida trip with Ron Kilmer, my back cast caught a seagull. So I had to haul the seagull in while he calmed it down, and we sat there and got the hook out of him.
I caught a bird in Brookville. Snagged it while we were fishing for trout. Luckily it wasn't hooked, so I undid the line around it and threw it right back into the air, and it took to flight.
I went down with Josh and Jack. I remember being in the water, being nervous about what I was doing, and then they're texting me what flies that they were catching fish on. So I was able to eliminate that and start like working everything, and like it was just like fish, and it was just like, oh my god, it was a great trip.
We went out west and we were fly fishing, and Bernie was helping me with adverse condition because it was very windy. I managed to hook Bernie right between the eyes. And my husband says to me, why didn't you get Kurt instead of Bernie with the hook? Bernie's a lawyer. Kurt was an airplane pilot, so it was.
On that same trip, Kilmer snored so bad, he slept in the back of his truck, and I swear to God, he had one of those cabs on the top of his truck, and the back part would open and shut with him snoring. It was so loud.
My favorite moment was when I was president and it was my last banquet, and we had decided to rename the Fly Fisher of the Year award the Michael J. Arnold Fly Fisher of the Year award. And Mike, for me, has always been one of my mentors. I mean, he's the guy. If there's anyone in this club, there's some guys here who taught me a lot, but Mike was just taught me a lot and was so generous with his time and his knowledge. I mean, just a generous guy all around. And being able to give that award to him and have his wife and daughter come out in front of everybody and see him get teary-eyed was like, that was like my magnum opus, I guess, if that's the right word to say, on my little John as president.
It's really about the camaraderie. It's not necessarily about catching a fish or tying a fly. It's about you know, really that camaraderie and